in a world where ancient gods sleep beneath forgotten stones, and hungry ghosts whisper through cracked temple walls. One girl's journey will unlock a secret buried for 1,000 years. This is not just a story, it is a lost legend, a myth the wind tried to erase. If you crave forgotten tales, eerie mysteries, and dark myths from beyond the veil, then you've found your home. Subscribe to Mythical Journey HQ. Like, share, and tell us in the comments. What would you do if you were Lianhua? Part 1. When the sky first breathed. Long before the wind learned to whisper and the stars found their places in the sky, there was only the deep silence. It was not dark, nor light. It was not warm, nor cold. It simply was. But deep in that silence, something stirred, a trembling breath from the mouth of forever. That breath became the first sound, and from it, the world began. From the first sound came Yin, the sky weaver. She had hair like falling rain and eyes full of swirling clouds. With a single movement of her fingers, she spun the threads of sky and sea, mountain and fire. She was lonely, but she worked with love. She sang the world into form. Her voice created the jade rivers, which sang back to her in silver songs. Her tears became the glass forest, where trees grew with branches like crystal, humming softly with every breeze. Her laughter became the floating mountains, great islands of earth that drifted high in the sky, connected by ropes of lightning. But something was missing. The world was beautiful, but empty. So Yin reached into her chest and pulled out a piece of her soul. She shaped it into 12 glowing beings, the 12 celestial guardians, gods, and spirits to watch over the land. They were Zhao Wu, Lord of Flame, with a sword made of molten gold; Lian Mu, Lady of Tears, who walked where rivers flowed; Tai Jia, the Silent One, who held the stars in his palms; Mei Xin, the Blooming Heart, who brought life to the trees and beasts; Ying Hui, Mistress of the Moon Veil, Keeper of Secrets; Feng Yao, the Wind Trickster, who changed shape and danced with storms; Qi Long, the Crimson Dragon, the protector of the mountain gates; Xuan Lei, Lord of Thunder, who had a lion's roar; Naihe, the boatman of the Shadow River; Qingling, guardian of dreams, whose breath gave color to sleep; Bai Si, the Pale Death, who whispered the endings of things; and Wu Mun, the Forgotten One, the 12th, who no one remembered creating. The gods loved the world, and they shaped it with care. Animals roamed the forests. Humans were born from the laughter of Mei Xin and the tears of Lian Mu. The gods taught them songs, fire, and dreams. But Wu Mun, the Forgotten One, was different. No one knew his purpose. He wandered alone. While the others shaped life, Wu Mun listened to the silence beneath the world. He found the Forgotten Gate, hidden in the deepest part of the world, beneath the underland. It was a doorway not made by Yin. It was older, made of bones and wrapped in chains of time. Wu Mun felt drawn to it. He knocked on the gate, and something answered. It was soft at first, a whisper like wind through ash. Then it became voices, many voices, hungry voices. They called him brother. Wu Mun returned to the surface, changed. His eyes had turned black. Shadows followed where he walked. He told the other gods what he had found, but they were afraid. The gate must stay closed, warned Zhao Wu. It is not ours. The thing behind it is not life, whispered Bai Si. But Wu Mun felt lonely. The voices behind the gate understood him. They promised him love, power, purpose. And so, one day, during the Festival of Light, when the gods danced in the sky, Wu Mun returned to the Forgotten Gate and opened it. From it spilled the hungry ghosts. They were not spirits of the dead. They were older, born of forgotten fears and broken dreams. They had no faces, only empty mouths. They fed on memory, on warmth, on the love between living things. The world changed that day. Forests turned to ash. Rivers ran backward. Cities turned to stone. Yin Yu wept, and her tears became the endless rains of the north. The gods fought back. Zhao Wu's flame lit the skies for 7 days. Qi Long coiled around the mountains and held back the ghosts. Naihe sealed the Shadow River with chains of moonstone. In the end, Wu Mun saw what he had done. He tried to close the gate, but it would not close. It needed a soul, and so he gave his own. He stepped into the gate and sealed it from within, whispering, "Let me be forgotten, so the world may remember peace." And he was forgotten. No one spoke his name. No statue stood in his honor. Not even the gods remembered what he looked like. But once a year, during the Festival of the Damned, the gate weakens. The hungry ghosts whisper again, and somewhere, in a forgotten village, a child is born who dreams of shadows and doors. A new story is about to begin. Part 2. The Child Who Remembered Woman. In the village of Inshan, hidden deep within a mist-covered valley, time moved slowly. Trees whispered the names of those long gone, and lanterns hung at every doorway to keep the shadows away. It was a place forgotten by the outside world. But on the night of the Festival of the Damned, the wind changed. The mist thickened. The stars blinked once, and then vanished. And a child was born. She did not cry. She simply stared, wide-eyed, into the darkness, as if she recognized it. Her name was Lianhua, meaning lotus flower. Her mother said she bloomed from sorrow. Her father said she had moonlight in her eyes. But the elders of Inshan whispered among themselves. She was born on the night of the Forgotten Gate, one said. She will bring ruin, said another. But the oldest of them all, Grandmother Hua, shook her head slowly and said, No, she will bring memory. The dreams begin. Lianhua grew quickly. By the age of 5, she wandered the forest alone and returned, with tales of talking stones and laughing winds. She claimed she could see creatures no one else could see, beings with long necks and hollow eyes, who wept silently in the trees. She drew strange symbols in the dirt. When asked where she learned them, she replied, The ghost showed me. Each year, on the Festival of the Damned, Lianhua dreamed of the Forgotten Gate. She saw it, a door made of white bone and black metal, wrapped in chains that pulsed like veins. From the other side came voices, gentle and sorrowful. They did not frighten her. One voice came always, soft, tired, loving. I am woman, it said, and you are my echo. The warning of the moon veil. When Lianhua was 11, the moon vanished during the festival. The sky turned red, and the lanterns in the village would not light. The elders prayed to the gods, but no answer came. That night, a visitor arrived. She wore robes of shimmering silver, and her face was hidden behind a veil of pearl threads. Her feet made no sound. She was Yinghue, mistress of the moon veil, goddess of secrets and the hidden path. She appeared before Lianhua and said, You walk the path of the Forgotten One. That is a path of sorrow. Lianhua stood tall. Then let me remember what was forgotten. The goddess studied her, long and silent. If you truly wish to know, she said, you must walk through the 5 realms. Each holds a piece of woman's truth. But beware, the hungry ghosts have begun to stir. Their hunger is growing. Then she gave Lianhua a gift, a shard of starlight, warm in her palm. It will guide you. Once, she said, use it wisely. Then she vanished, like moonlight before the dawn. The first realm, the forest of wandering names. At 13, Lianhua left her village, carrying only a small satchel, the starlight shard, and a wooden flute her father carved. She walked into the forest of wandering names, where the trees moved when you weren't looking, and the path twisted back on itself. The forest whispered to her, Who are you? Why do you walk the path of ghosts? Do you even know your true name? She answered nothing and walked on. In the heart of the forest, she met a spirit, Shurya, a beast with the body of a deer, but a face made of shifting leaves. It guarded an old stone altar with 12 broken carvings. You seek woman, said Shurya, but all who enter the forest forget their names. Can you remember who you are? Lianhua held out her flute. I remember my father's music, she said. She placed the starlight shard in the center of the altar. The carvings lit up. One of them, broken and faint, began to glow. The wind grew still. The trees stopped moving, and Shurya bowed its head. You remember, it whispered. Then the gate remembers too. The ghost appears. That night, as she slept under the stars, one of the hungry ghosts found her. It did not attack. It sat beside her, a pale, mouthless figure cloaked in ash. It pointed to the sky. Lianhua looked up and saw the stars forming the shape of a door. She whispered, Woman. The ghost placed its hand over her heart. And for a moment, she saw a memory that was not hers, a man in gray robes, crying before a gate of bone. I will return, Lianhua promised the ghost, and I will open the door for the right reason this time. The ghost bowed once and faded into mist. Part 3. The Sky Palace of Forgotten Flames. The forest behind her, the path ahead unknown. Lianhua climbed the mountains that pierced the clouds like spears of stone. There, above the storm line, floating in the sky, was the next realm, the Sky Palace of Forgotten Flames. It hovered between lightning and silence, held aloft by winds older than memory. Few mortals had ever reached it. None had returned. But Lianhua was not like other mortals. She followed the trail of storm birds, giant feathered beings with wings of thunder. She scaled cliffs where fire fell like rain. She crossed a bridge of singing bones, guarded by wind spirits, who tested her heart with riddles. And at last, she stood before the Sky Palace. Its towers shimmered with ember light. Flames danced through the air, yet nothing burned. The walls were carved with stories, long-forgotten tales of gods, of battles, of sorrow. This was the home of Zhao Wu, Lord of Flame, the god who lit the skies during the War of the Gate. He was waiting, trial by flame. Zhao Wu stood tall and proud, his eyes glowing like twin suns. His armor was made of molten gold, his voice deep like an ancient drum. "I remember your soul," he said. "Long ago, it stood before the gate." Lianhua bowed. "I seek the truth of woman. I wish to remember him." Zhao Wu frowned. "To remember him is to carry his pain. Do you understand what he gave?" She nodded. "Then prove it," he said. He pointed to the heart fire, a pool of golden flame that pulsed with life. "To find truth, you must walk through the fire. But beware, this fire burns memory. If your will falters, you will forget who you are." Lianhua stepped forward. The flames licked her skin. They whispered names, her mother's lullabies, her father's laughter, the flute's gentle song. They tried to take them, but she remembered the ghost's hand on her heart, the memory of sorrow that was not hers. She whispered, "I am Lianhua. I carry woman's echo. I will not forget." The flames parted, and she saw it, a vision of woman, standing before the gate, his hands trembling, his eyes filled with love and despair. Behind him, the hungry ghosts waited. He turned to face the world one last time and stepped inside. The vision faded. Lianhua fell to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. Zhao Wu knelt beside her, and for the first time, his flame dimmed. "We were wrong," he said quietly. "We turned from him when he needed us most." He gave her a gift, a piece of his own flame, bound in golden cloth. "This is the memory fire," he said. "It cannot be put out. Use it to reveal truth when all else is lost." Lianhua took the flame and bowed low. "I will make the world remember." The sky cracks. As she left the palace, the sky trembled. A crack opened high above the stars, twisted and turned, reshaping into the shape of the forgotten gate. The hungry ghosts were stirring again. One voice whispered, faint but growing louder. "She walks the path. She remembers." And far below, in Inshan village, the lanterns would no longer light. The gate was weakening. Part 4. The river that forgets the dead. Beyond the Sky Palace, past the land where lightning sleeps, there lies a place that few dare to name. It is called the river that forgets the dead. It flows backward through the underworld, silver and silent, carrying away names, memories, and dreams. No living soul had crossed it and remained unchanged. But Lianhua had no choice. She followed a trail of withered willows, their leaves like paper prayers drifting on windless air. The light dimmed, and the world grew cold. Shadows whispered to her, offering her rest, offering her forgetfulness. Still, she walked on. Finally, she reached the banks of the river. It was wide and still, like a sheet of glass. In its reflection, she did not see herself, but Wu Mun, kneeling before the forgotten gate. And there, waiting by a black boat with a silver lantern, was Naiha, the boatman of the Shadow River. The price of passage. Naiha's face was hidden beneath a hood of shadow. He did not speak often, for his voice could steal memories if one listened too long. Instead, he raised a long, bone-white finger. Lianhua understood. "What is the price?" she asked softly. A single word appeared in the air, written in frost. "Memory." Lianhua hesitated. She touched the starlight shard in her satchel. She touched the golden flame gifted by Zhao Wu. These were her treasures. But then she touched her heart. "My name," she whispered. "Take part of my name." Naiha nodded. As she stepped into the boat, a soft warmth left her chest. She could no longer remember the lullaby her mother sang to her on winter nights. But the river let her pass. The island of the unspoken. The boat glided across the silver waters. Shadows drifted beneath the surface, lost souls, forgotten oaths, broken promises. After what felt like an eternity, they reached an island made of black stone and fallen stars. On it stood a single tree, its branches bare, its trunk etched with ancient symbols. It was here that the souls of the forgotten waited. Lianhua stepped onto the island, and the air thickened. The spirits turned to her, their faces blank, their eyes wide with a hunger that was not cruel, but desperate. They were the first victims of the Forgotten Gate, the ones women could not save. They did not speak with words, but with feelings, flashes of sorrow, of warmth once felt, of laughter now lost. They crowded around her. She played her father's flute. A slow, gentle melody filled the air, and the spirits calmed. One stepped forward, a child no older than 5, holding a small paper lantern that had never been lit. The child placed the lantern in Lianhua's hands. It glowed faintly with ghost light, and then the spirits spoke as one. He gave his soul to stop the hunger. But we remain. You carry his hope. You must find the seal of sorrow. The tree on the island cracked open. Inside was a staircase made of black glass, spiraling downward into a pit of memory. Lianhua descended. She found herself in a vast chamber of stone, with a single object at the center, a stone seal, carved with the symbol of Wumina circle. Broken in two, it pulsed with forgotten sorrow. She touched it, and in that moment, she saw everything: Wumin's loneliness among the gods, his discovery of the Forgotten Gate, his decision to open it, believing he could give the unloved a home, his despair when he realized the ghosts could never be filled, his sacrifice, sealing the gate with his own soul. And then, one last vision, a path leading beyond the gate to a realm even deeper, not of ghosts, but of the first hunger, the one that created the hungry ghosts, the one that even the gods had forgotten. The Forgotten Gate had never been the prison it had been. The lock, and it was breaking. Lianhua gasped. The seal cracked in her hand. A sharp wind tore through the chamber. The ghosts above began to scream, not in rage, but in warning. She had seen too much. The first hunger had noticed her. She ran back to the river, back to the boat. Naiha was waiting. He reached out a hand. "Wait," Lianhua said. "I know your sorrow." She held out the unlit ghost lantern. The boatman touched it. For the first time in centuries, the lantern lit with a soft blue flame. The boatman bowed deeply and said, in a voice that shook the world, "You remember what even the gods have forgotten. Go now, before the gate opens fully." Part 5. The Crystal City beneath the mountain. After crossing the river that forgets the dead, Lianhua came to a place no map had ever drawn. Here the world seemed older than time itself. The stars above were dim, and the sky no longer moved. This was the realm of silence, buried under the earth, beneath the weight of forgotten dreams. And at its heart stood the hidden marvel known only in whispers. The Crystal City beneath the mountain, and gods ruled here. No spirits wandered, only memory. The descent through Bonestone. Lianhua followed a crevice in the earth, deep into the roots of the world. The walls were made of bone-white stone, veined with strands of glowing quartz that pulsed softly like the city itself was sleeping. Every step she took echoed like a heartbeat. She passed through a gate made of obsidian fangs, and then into darkness. Then, suddenly, light bloomed. She gasped. Before her rose the Crystal City, a vast cavern of towering spires, glowing softly in shades of blue, green, and gold. Bridges of light spanned the air. The buildings were not built, but grown like living jewels shaped by ancient forces. And in the center of it all floated a great crystal sphere, turning slowly, as if remembering the world outside. The architects of memory. She was not alone. Tall figures with eyes like polished mirrors approached. The Jianjia, the keepers of memory. They were neither spirit nor god, but something older, shaped in the days before language. They spoke not with mouths, but through music and thought. "You carry the seal of sorrow," one said, its voice ringing like bells. "You walked the path of the river. You remember what should have been forgotten." Lianhua nodded. "I seek woman's truth. I seek the first hunger." The Jianjia turned and led her to the great crystal sphere. Inside it, images flickered, moments of the past, the lives of gods, the first breath of creation. "You must see the origin," they said. "Not all hunger comes from evil. Some comes from being unseen. They placed their hands on the sphere, and so did she. And the truth unfolded. The origin of the first hunger before gods, before names, there was only feeling. It drifted in the void, soft, aimless, longing. It had no body, no voice. It wanted to be known, but the gods who came after ignored it. They shaped stars, sculpted worlds, sang light into being, yet never looked into the shadow where the feeling waited. And so the feeling changed. It became hunger, not for food, but for acknowledgement. See me, it whispered, but none did. And so, from its loneliness, it began to consume, not out of rage, but out of longing. It devoured the forgotten, lost dreams, abandoned names, rejected prayers. It turned them into ghosts, hollow things searching for something they could never remember. And one day, a kind-hearted god named woman heard the hunger's cry. He did not fear it, he pitied it. And that pity doomed him. Lianhua fell to her knees. I understand now, she whispered. He tried to heal it, but it was too deep. The Jianjia placed a crystal shard in her hand. It pulsed with ancient sorrow. This is the heart of the city, they said. It remembers all. Use it to open what must be opened, or to close what should never awaken. The city trembled. Above, the ground cracked. The forgotten gate was no longer whispering. It was calling. The prophecy awakens as Lianhua turned to leave. The city dimmed. The Jianjia knelt before her. You are more than a girl. You are the key walker, the one who bears the will of remembrance. They began to sing, a song older than gods. The walls echoed with it, and the crystals glowed brighter than ever. Then, in a storm of light, the city began to sink, slowly, returning to sleep beneath the mountain. It had given what it could. Now the rest was hers. Part 6. The shifting sands of the skyless realm. The world was unraveling. The gate stirred. The sky above Inshan bled red as lanterns flickered and died. The spirits grew louder. And Lianhua, bearing the memory fire, the ghost lantern, and the heart of the city, entered the next realm, the skyless realm. There was no horizon here. No dawn. No stars. Only sand, endless, black, and whispering. The wind did not blow, but the dunes moved, shifting like the backs of great sleeping beasts. The sky above was solid stone, and it crushed the soul with its weight. Time itself seemed lost here, and buried beneath the sands, in twisted temples and sunken bones, were illusions, echoes of lives never lived, dreams never fulfilled, lies dressed as truth. This was the realm of the mindless hunger, a shadow cast by the first, and to pass through it, Lianhua would face her deepest self. The mirror storm as she walked. The sands began to change. They sparkled like broken glass. Then they rose. All around her, shards formed, mirrors made of sand and sorrow. They reflected not her face, but versions of her life. Lianhua as a child who never learned the flute. Lianhua as a cruel girl, laughing as spirits wept. Lianhua who had opened the gate, not to save, but to rule. Each version spoke, there. Voices like wind in the ears. You will fail. You are not chosen, only desperate. Even women fell. What hope have you? She shut her eyes, holding the ghost lantern close. It glowed softly, and then a voice, his voice, spoke from within. Lianhua, trust the pain. It is yours. She opened her eyes and shattered the mirrors with a scream. The storm died. The illusions crumbled. She walked on. The temple that sleeps far ahead, half buried in the black dunes. She saw a temple, its roof sunken, its doors open like a yawning mouth. Around it, statues of gods lay broken. Each one wore the face of woman, though none were quite right. Inside, the air was stilled. The center of the temple, a throne of twisted roots and bones held a body, a shadow figure shaped like a man, cloaked in night. It was the voice of the first hunger, not the being itself, but the mouth it used in dreams. You seek truth? It asked. Then take it. The ground split, and she saw it. A vision of herself, much older, standing at the broken gate, not to close it, but to open it wide, to let the ghosts pour out, to reshape the world into one of endless memory and sorrow. Is that your future? The voice hissed. Lianhua trembled. No, she said, voice cracking. That is your lie. She took the heart of the city, raised it high, and pressed it to her chest. And from the gem poured memory, pure, sharp, real, her mother's eyes, her father's music, the hand of woman, cold but gentle, pressed against her soul in the dream. She remembered who she was, not a savior, not a sacrifice, not a witness, not a bridge, not a soul who chose to carry the sorrow, not erase it. The voice screamed. It collapsed into dust. The temple quaked. The sands roared. The skyless realm began to fall apart. But Lianhua stood still. She held all three relics. The memory fire from Zhao Wu, the ghost lantern lit by the child of the dead, the heart of the city, gift of the crystal keepers, and in the air, carved in flame, appeared a doorway. Not just a doorway, the forgotten gate itself. But it was not sealed anymore. It was open, and something beyond was watching. Part 7. The gate opens, and the world remembers. The doorway stood in silence. A simple arch of stone and shadow, pulsing with the breath of something too old to name. Lianhua stepped forward. The forgotten gate was open. Behind it, the air shimmered like oil. There were no shapes, only feelings, grief, longing, hunger without mouth or end. It was like walking into a memory that had never happened. She passed through the gate, and the world changed. The realm before time, there was no ground beneath her feet, no sky above, only existence, raw and without form. This was the core of sorrow, the birthplace of the first hunger. It floated like a wound across eternity, a swirling mass of emotion, echoing with voices that had never been heard. Lianhua saw fragments in the storm. A mother weeping for a child history forgot. A name carved into a tree, lost in fire. A song half sung, never finished. A god kneeling before silence. These were the seeds of the hunger, the parts of the world no one held. And at the center of it all, a shape, vast, shifting, impossible. The first hungered. It had no face, no voice, only eyes, millions of them, forming and unforming, blinking in sorrow, blinking in need. And all of them turned to her. The final question, it did not speak. It felt, and she felt it back, like drowning in forgotten lives. Then came the question, not in words, but in the marrow of her bones. Will you let the world forget again? She held the ghost lantern forward. The flame flickered. She held up the memory fire. It burned with a soft, golden light. She raised the heart of the city, and then she offered them all, not as weapons, but as gifts, gifts of remembrance. I can't destroy you, she whispered. You are part of us, but I can carry you. And she knelt, not in surrender, in recognition. The hunger weeps. The first hunger stopped. The storm slowed. The thousands of eyes closed, one by one. And for the first time in all existence, it wept. The realm before time began to fold in on itself. Not in destruction. In rest. A new gate formed, small, humble, carved of wood and bone. Lianhua stepped through it. The world changes. She returned to Inshan during the Ghost Festival. The people had gathered again, watching the sky as thousands of lanterns floated into the night. But something was different. The air shimmered. They could feel the presence of their ancestors. Not just as shadows or dreams, but real, near. The hungry ghosts were no longer lost. They had been remembered. They had been seen. The last lantern. Lianhua stood on the mountain, alone. In her hands, she held the final lantern, the one the child spirit gave her. She lit it. The blue flame rose gently, carrying no sorrow, only peace. She released it into the sky and watched it rise, higher and higher, until it vanished among the stars. Epilogue. The gate remains. The forgotten gate still stands. It is no longer feared. It is honored. Each year, during the Festival of the Damned, the people of China remember not only the ghosts, but the girl who walked into the realm of sorrow, who bowed to the first hunger, and came back with a world that remembers. And if you walk the mountain path on a quiet night, you may hear a flute softly playing, a song that even the gods have not forgotten. Part 8. The echo of forgotten souls. It had been many years since Lianhua had walked through the forgotten gate. The world had returned to its natural rhythm, though it was no longer quite the same. The people still gathered during the Festival of the Damned, not to mourn the lost or to ward off spirits, but to honor them. those who had lived and those who had not. It had become a festival of remembrance, and the lanterns now floated on. The night wind like tiny stars, illuminating a path between worlds. But Lianhua could not forget. She never had. The call of the mountains. Lianhua now lived far from the bustling towns and cities. Her home was in the high mountains, where the winds were cold and the trees whispered secrets older than time. Her heart had found peace, but her mind had never stopped questioning. Had she truly closed the gate? Had she truly set the world right? Or was there a part of the first hunger still watching, waiting, yearning for something more? Each night, as she stood before the fire, she could hear the faintest call, a soft voice that reached into her soul. Remember us, Lianhua. Remember the forgotten. The wandering souls. One cold evening, as the first snow began to fall, a visitor came to her door. It was a child, no older than the age she had been when her journey began. His face was pale, his eyes dark as the night sky. He carried no lantern, yet the air around him shimmered. "I am not here to ask for guidance," the boy said softly, his voice carrying an unearthly echo. "I am here to offer you something you left behind." Lianhua did not recognize him, but the shadows that clung to him were familiar, those very shadows that had once swirled around the forgotten gate. "The forgotten?" she asked, her voice trembling. The boy nodded, his eyes glistening like the frozen rivers beneath the mountain. "The gate is not closed, Lianhua. It cannot be. It is not just a gate to the hungry ghosts, but to all who are forgotten. You saved them once, but there are those who still remain lost, those who will never find their way home." Lianhua's heart clenched. She had tried. She had tried to carry the sorrow of the world, but there would always be those who slipped between the cracks, who remained unnoticed, unremembered. "What can I do?" she whispered. The boy stepped forward and placed his hand gently on her heart. "You must take the final journey, not for the dead, but for the living. You must become the keeper of the gate, the one who bridges the worlds, and guide the forgotten back to where they belong." Lianhua closed her eyes. She had thought her journey was over, that she could finally rest. But the weight of the world, the weight of forgotten souls, was too much for her to ignore. "I will go," she said quietly, her voice steady. The path beyond time. The boy led Lianhua down a path she had never seen before. The trees no longer whispered, and the winds did not move. The sky above was dark, endless, stretching beyond any horizon. They walked in silence for hours, or maybe days, until they reached the foot of a mountain that did not exist on any map. The base of this mountain stood a doorway, ancient and weathered, much like the one Lianhua had walked through long ago. But this doorway was not made of stone. It was made of memory. The moment Lianhua laid her hand on it, images flooded her mind. Faces she had forgotten, places she had never seen, lives she had never lived. Every step she took echoed with the footsteps of souls she could not see, but felt. The boy turned to her, his face now softened with an expression of solemnity. "This is the final gate," he said. "It leads to a place beyond time, a place where the forgotten wander, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be whole again." Lianhua stepped forward, her heart steady, her mind clear. She did not know what awaited her beyond the door, but she had learned long ago that true peace came not from running away, but from confronting the sorrow within. As she stepped through the gate, she felt something deep within her heart, a warmth, a light, a sense of belonging. The keeper of the forgotten gate. Beyond the gate, Lianhua found herself standing in a realm where time did not exist. The ground beneath her feet was soft, like the dreams of the dead. Before her stood an endless sea of souls, drifting, lost, and fading into the mist. At the center of this vast sea stood a crystal throne, unlike any throne she had seen before. It was made of pure light, as though it had been carved from the very essence of the stars. And there, sitting upon it, was a figure she knew. It was woman. He was no longer a god in the form she had known. He was no longer the broken god who had opened the gate in the first place. He was whole again. His face was peaceful, his eyes filled with quiet understanding. "You have come," he said, his voice gentle, like the wind through a bamboo forest. "I had no choice," Lianhua replied, stepping forward. "I am the keeper now. It is my fate to guide them, to bring them home." Woman smiled, the warmth in his gaze like the first rays of dawn. "You were never meant to carry this alone," he said. "But you have found the strength to do what no one else could. You will be the bridge between worlds, Lianhua, and you will bring peace to those who remain forgotten." The souls around them began to gather. They looked not at Lianhua, but at the light that surrounded her. They reached out, their voices whispers in the air, and Lianhua felt their pain, their yearning, their need for remembrance. She lifted the heart of the city, the memory fire, and the ghost lantern once more. The flames within them burned brighter than before, and she remembered. She remembered them all. She remembered everything. The forgotten souls found their peace in her light. The memory of their lives, their stories, their songs returned, and they were whole again. The last lantern, Lianhua placed the last lantern into the sky. It flickered once. Then it soared, higher and higher, until it disappeared into the stars. The world had been saved, but more than that, it had been remembered. The forgotten gate still stood, but now it was a place of reunion, not sorrow. It was a bridge between worlds, between the living and the dead, between memory and oblivion. And every year, on the Festival of the Damned, the people would still release their lanterns into the sky. But now, the lanterns carried with them not only the ghosts of the forgotten, but also the stories of those who lived. And so the cycle of remembrance continued forever and ever.